Greetings everyone and welcome to SpaceWeek Live for Sunday, December 6th, 2020. It has been a big week and another big week coming up, so let's get started. First of all, this is a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Make sure to tag my name, Rawspace, so I'm sure to see it amidst all the other chatter. Alright, let us get to... Alright, so we know that the Arecibo radio telescope collapsed last week, but what we have is the official footage from the National Science Foundation. They actually were conducting a drone survey of the cable connection points at the very moment of the collapse, which is serendipitously, amazingly good timing for a bad event. So the benefit is that we get to see the actual collapse up close and personal. They also had some static cameras set up. They knew that I think they were monitoring the site, but the drone survey was just totally good timing for this very tragic event. Let me go ahead and maximize this for you. Sound. So, yeah, we're looking at the receiver platform. Cables break. Yeah, so I guess there was audio. So that was the static camera, and then upcoming is the cable camera. And again, this footage is courtesy of the Arecibo Observatory National Science Foundation, so this is official stuff. You can see the cables fraying, and then bam, they start failing one by one. The drone pans to the left. We see the collapse of the platform, and the tops of the towers were all basically ripped off by the incredible forces involved. That was what was it, a 60? Shoot, I don't even want to. Was it 900 tons or something? 900 tons was the weight of that platform. So Arecibo is no more. Very sad. A major blow to the scientific community, because this was a unique telescope. I mean, it was the second largest radio telescope in the world after one that was recently constructed by China. And I'm not sure how much access the international scientific community has to the Chinese radio telescope, but I mean, typically China's not terribly open about such things, but hopefully they're allowing access, because currently they're the only very large radio telescope in the world since the loss of Arecibo. Excuse me. But Arecibo was unique because it was the only radar that is transmitting capable massive radio telescope in the world. So it was able to actually transmit radio signals and perform planetary radar, that is, bounce radar signals off of asteroids and other near-Earth objects, and receive those signals back, which is an incredible capability. We also have Goldstone, which is a large... so currently the U.S.'s largest... I believe Goldstone is the U.S.'s largest radio telescope currently now. But it is like just a fraction of the size. Even though it's huge, it's a fraction of the size of Arecibo. So hopefully with the high visibility of this loss, hopefully the scientific community will be able to drum up enough interest that a new telescope can be built. Maybe not on the Arecibo site, but somewhere. Because it's, I mean, astronomy is all about your tools. You can't get too much accomplished just by looking up at the sky with your eyes. You need instruments, and in order to get really special work done, you need really special instruments, such as Arecibo. So rest in peace. And what did I say? I actually responded to a Twitter thread. I said, don't rest in peace. Rest in anger that you were not adequately funded or maintained, so that hopefully we can build a new Arecibo bigger and better than the last one. Okay, moving on. So, last week was a big week for Asian solar system science, with successes from both China and Japan. Let's see, China. Okay, let me switch to big screen because we don't. I don't have any videos queued up. Sorry for that. I ran out of time, but there's minimal media coming out of China regarding the Chang'e 5. I'm sorry, the Chang'e 5 lunar sample return mission. But last Tuesday, the lander successfully touched down on the lunar surface after having launched on November 23rd and entering lunar orbit 5 days later. The lander, with the ascent stage attached, detached from the orbiter and descended to the surface. Then they wasted no time scooping up a couple kilograms of lunar dust and extracting a core sample from up to 2 meters deep. They had a tube that dug down into the lunar regolith 2 meters and pulled up a core sample. These samples were placed in a container on the ascent stage, which then shortly thereafter blasted off the moon's surface. Now, if you recall, when it launched, I mentioned that the Chang'e 5 mission, they had up to a full lunar day, so about 14 days of daylight in which to conduct their operations on the lunar surface, but they were done within like a day or two. Once they landed, they scooped up their sample and they were out of there. And I think the lander may be, I don't know what other capabilities the lander has. The lander may have some additional science capability that they can, leverage in the coming days until the lunar nighttime comes, at which point it will lose, it'll die because of the extended cold that it's not designed to withstand. So let's see. The samples were placed in a container in the ascent stage, which blasted off the moon's surface. Yesterday, the ascent stage docked to the orbiter and then successfully transferred the sample container from the ascent stage to the reentry capsule. And the reentry capsule was attached to the orbiter. And I'm not sure if the Chang'e 5 orbiter is still going around the moon or if it has begun its return trip. I haven't seen that headline yet. But once it does start on its way back, it will take about 5 days to get back home to Earth. At which point the orbiter, which is the main workhorse of the mission, will release the reentry capsule containing the sample container. The reentry capsule looks like a capsule, like any other capsule. It will descend through the Earth's atmosphere and land in, I think it's Inner Mongolia, which is a region of northern China, a semi-autonomous region of northern China. Then yesterday, Japan's Hayabusa2 asteroid sample return mission released a capsule containing a 100 milligram sample of material from asteroid Ryugu, which it collected back in 2018-2019. The 40 centimeter in diameter return capsule re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, which we can see here, and parachuted. You can't see that. Let me go back. Boop. Which we can't see here. And parachuted down to land in the Woomera Prohibited Area, which is a government-restricted zone in Western Australia. So again, the return capsule is about 40 centimeters in diameter, containing a very tiny sample, 100 milligrams. And you can see there, I don't think that it had an ablative heat shield. I suppose it's possible, but from the model they showed, it didn't look like the heat shield was ablative, meaning it was designed to, literally, the material was literally designed to destroy itself by absorbing the heat of reentry. But we do see the plasma sheath there being generated by the sample return capsule at much slower speeds than a meteor, by the way, which would be traveling at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. This one was only traveling a few thousand. And so they received the signal. Obviously, they saw it streak overhead. They received the signal that the parachute had deployed. And then they seemed to lose the signal once it landed, which was concerning. But they sent a helicopter out, which we see here tracked on Flight Radar 24, flying in circuits around the landing area. They sent a helicopter out, and in short order, they found the capsule. In retrospect, I wish that I had put up the Flight Radar 24 view on the live stream as I was doing it, but I forgot to do that. So, but we did provide the link for people. And here's Jax's tweet regarding the recovery of the capsule. So congratulations to JAXA, congratulations to China for Chang'e 5, and good stuff. Solar system science is always fun. It requires a lot of patience because it takes oftentimes years to conduct a mission. I mean, Hayabusa2 was launched 4 years ago. 4 years ago? 6 years ago. It was launched in 2014. It arrived Ryugu in 2018 and spent 17 months studying the asteroid before heading back home. Now, Hayabusa2 itself, I said that it released the sample return capsule, but Hayabusa2 itself did not simply burn up in Earth's atmosphere. It headed off to go study potentially 2 additional asteroids. So it's a very complex and long-term mission from Japan, but they're conducting it swimmingly. Going back to I wanted to cover the 2 Asian solar system science missions, but going back to last Tuesday, an Arianespace Soyuz successfully launched the Falcon Eye 2 satellite.
Largage du mât KZM. tous de DDO, attention pour le début de la séquence d'allumage du lanceur. Top, H0 moins 20 secondes. Largage du mât VKM. Allumage triétage. Tous de DDO, attention pour le début de décompte final. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Décollage.
Now, Ariane Space and Stefan Israel and all of his team were presumably very nervous leading up to this launch because I'm sure that tensions were extremely high because this was the launch of Falcon 2 for the United Arab Emirates. It's basically a spy satellite for the UAE. But Falcon 1 was lost last year on an Ariane Space Vega rocket when the second stage failed to ignite. And that resulted in the largest space insurance claim to date, $411 million payout on that one. And so Falcon 1 and Falcon 2 were built as twins, and so this was the second of those twins. The UAE chose to switch launch vehicles. They kept Ariane Space as their launch provider, but they switched the launch vehicles from Vega to Soyuz, because remember, Ariane Space doesn't build their own rockets, they acquire them from other agencies. Soyuz comes from Russia, the Vega is built by Italy, primarily, with, I guess, Ukrainian engines. And then, so that was one source of their apprehension. And then the second source was the very last space Ariane Space launch prior to this was another Vega rocket, which also failed. So two of the last three Vega, after 14 successes, two of the last three Vega launches were failures. What happened with the previous Vega launch, which was just a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, was so Vega is a 4-stage rocket, and okay, and all the first 3 stages were fine, and then the 4th stage, they think it came down to faulty wiring. They think that the control thrusters were wired backwards in the 4th stage, which is the Avum upper stage of the Vega. And what happened was, when the 4th stage kicked in, it did light, but it thrusted in the wrong direction, throwing the whole vehicle off course and causing the loss of that mission, which resulted in a total of about $370 million of lost payload. Those were 2 satellites for Spain and France, which I don't particularly care about spy satellites, but such as Falcon 9, although any mishaps in the space launch industry ripple throughout the industry, so we don't want to see anything lost because it hurts everybody. But the payloads on that Vega mission included Taranis, which was a French satellite that was actually going to study the transient atmospheric phenomenon above storms called sprites, and like, you may be aware of these red flashes that shoot up from the tops of storms. They weren't even, like, nobody even knew about them until fairly recently, but they're very hard to study, and so this satellite was actually going to study them, which is really cool, which makes it really unfortunate that it was lost. But in any case, that's old news at this point. This latest Soyuz Falcon 9 launch was very successful. congratulations to Arianespace on that one. Then, let's see. Then on Thursday, a Soyuz 2.1B with Fregat upper stage launched 3 GONETS-M communication satellites and a cluster of small sats, including ERA-1, also called Cosmos 2548 for the Russian military. Although the details are scarce, it will reportedly be used to test advanced astronavigation microsystems. Always useful. Let's check it out.
Точное время старта. 4 часа 14.
Indeed. Always good to see Soyuz launches with their crazy camera angles. Then, last night, a Chinese Long March 3 launched the Gaofen 14 Earth observation satellite. Here we go. Looked like a beautiful day for a launch there. A very scenic location. What is that? Jiquan? I forget which launch center that is. But it's one of the, well, all of China's launch centers except for the one in the far south where the Long March 5 launches from is located far inland, but some are more scenic than others. Then finally, this morning, this very day, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 with the first Dragon 2 cargo spacecraft to the ISS called CRS-21. And after the launch, I will talk a little bit about that. This morning's broadcast was a little weird because there was no countdown or call-outs, and the launch just kind of snuck up on me. I was like, whoa, it's launching, when I saw my screen light up. But yeah, so Dragon 2 is the new generation of SpaceX Dragon capsules. Dragon 1 was for cargo, and it did not have an autonomous docking capability with the ISS.
T plus 50 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 is carrying...
I'm so sorry. I think I had double audio on this whole time, and somebody probably told me about that. And I didn't see because I didn't have that, I had my notes up, not the chat. So I am sorry. Hopefully that didn't completely ruin the experience. So, yeah. Anyway, Dragon 2 is the new version of SpaceX's Dragon capsule. Dragon 1 did not have an autonomous docking capability to the ISS, but so it had to be grappled by Canadarm, the space station robotic arm, and then berthed to a berthing port. But Dragon 2 is able to dock itself. Now, there are two variants of Dragon 2. The Cargo Dragon, which launched this morning, and the Crew Dragon, which we have seen launch 3 times previously on the Demo 1, Demo 2, and Crew 1 missions. Yes, so in about 24 hours after the launch, so tomorrow, CRS-21 will be arriving at the space station and will dock itself autonomously with no need for manual control. Similar to how the Soyuz does, and exactly how the Crew Dragon does, because again, it's a variant of the same design. The main difference between Dragon 2 Cargo and Crew Dragon is that Dragon 2 Cargo does not have the Super Draco thrusters, because the Super Dracos are used for, although originally planned to act as a form of propulsive landing, to give the Crew Dragon a propulsive landing capability. The Super Dracos ended up with their primary purpose being launch escape, in case the astronauts on Crew Dragon need to get out of Dodge, as it were, during a launch abort scenario. Now that launch abort is not needed for cargo, so they removed the Super Draco engines from Dragon 2 Cargo, thus, gaining that extra mass capability for cargo. Now, there were a number of course, supplies and experiments on Dragon 2, as there always are on Dragon cargo missions. But the most significant cargo occupied the trunk of CRS-21, which was a Bishop airlock, which is the first commercial airlock to be used on the ISS. I think there are 4 airlocks on the ISS currently, from both Russia and the United States, and maybe 1 or 2 of our international partners, our other international partners. But the Bishop airlock is from NanoRacks, which is a company that makes hardware for the ISS. A lot of the scientific experiments are mounted in NanoRacks enclosures. NanoRacks makes a variety of equipment for the ISS, and now they have made, in partnership with Thales Alenia Space in Europe, as well as some other partners, they have made the Bishop airlock, which is a versatile module that's intended to be used in a number of different ways. They can place, like for example, the astronauts inside the space station can place payloads from inside the space station into the airlock. Then the air can be evacuated out of the airlock. The airlock can be grabbed by the robotic arm, and then those payloads can be ejected into space, small sats or experiments, things like that. Anyway, it's a very cool design. It has a lot of versatility, which is really what you want for space systems, is versatility and redundancy. So I mentioned this morning during my Q&A for this launch that I thought it was very cool that they named it Bishop, even though their choice of that name was they were naming it after the chess piece, the bishop, which moves diagonally on the chessboard. But I thought it was an interesting juxtaposition that the major cargo of the first Dragon 2 cargo flight was the Bishop airlock, while the major cargo of the first Crew Dragon flight, the Demo 1 mission, was Ripley, the mannequin. So Bishop and Ripley were, of course, characters in the Aliens movie, which is a big favorite of mine. So, I don't have a picture of them up, but if you haven't seen Aliens, you are missing out on a major cultural icon and one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made. That was it for last week. Like I said, it was a big week. There was a lot going on last week. And we're looking at another big one coming up. So let's get started. On Monday, December 7th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. GMT, the Dragon 2 cargo ship CRS-21 arrives at the space station. I'll definitely have a live stream of that. Then on Monday or Tuesday, you can see here at the top, it lists items that don't have a specific time on the calendar, which I'll link in ZChat. Then on Monday or Tuesday, we might get to see SpaceX Starship SN8's 12.5 kilometer test flight. It was originally planned to reach 15 kilometers high, but that was trimmed back to 12.5 kilometers for regulatory reasons. Maybe it was easier to register the temporary flight restrictions with the FAA for that height or something. I don't know the specific reason. Each day, so either Monday, Tuesday, or whenever it ends up launching, the launch window extends from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or 2 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. GMT. And just a note, Boca Chica, where Starship is being developed, Boca Chica, Texas, I should say, is in the Central Time Zone, which is 1 hour prior to Eastern. So that would be 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Central Time. If it looks like they're going to launch, I mean, obviously I can't stream the whole day, but if it looks like they're going to launch, I will try to get a stream up for you with live coverage, courtesy of our partner channel, Lab Padre, whom I will also link in the chat. They have 24/7 views of the facility, the SpaceX facilities in Boca Chica, for your viewing and chatting pleasure. A good group of nerdle over there. And I was corrected by Oracle the other day. It is nerdle, not nerdles. Nerdles is not pluralable. Pluralable. Then on Thursday, December 10th at 11:19 a.m. Eastern, 4:19 p.m. GMT, another SpaceX Falcon 9 will launch the SXM-7 satellite for Sirius XM radio, which will replace their XM-3 satellite for North American listeners. SXM-7 was built by Maxar Technologies and includes a large unfurlable S-band reflector for broadcasting radio signals to the ground. Also on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT, begins the launch window for Astrospace's Rocket 3.2 test flight. And Astrospace is an up-and-coming launch provider that has been testing their Astra rocket with limited success, but much passion. And the launch window extends for 3 hours from that point, so it could happen anytime in that window. And as with the previous unsuccessful test flight, which failed shortly after the launch, we are not expecting any live coverage. They did do a live stream of their first launch, of their first launch attempt, which got scrubbed back in, I guess, what was it, January or something? But then they stopped providing live coverage, probably because it was a lot of effort to, for no guarantee of success. Later that same day, on Thursday, from 5:50 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:50 p.m. to 3:30 a.m. GMT, is the launch window for ULA's Delta IV Heavy with the much-delayed NROL-44 satellite for the National Reconnaissance Office. Now, we've been waiting for this one for a long time. Let me just recap once again the attempts that they have made, the 13 previous attempts that they have made to launch this spy satellite for the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office. It was delayed in June, and then on August 26th, It scrubbed on August 27th due to a heater issue, which they resolved, but which prompted a pneumatics data review that ate up their remaining launch window for the night. It was delayed again on August 28th. Then on August 29th, they got all the way down to T-minus 4 seconds, and then they experienced a hot fire abort, where even as the flames engulfed the base of the rocket and the engines were being lit, an automatic shutdown was triggered. The rocket was safed, and the payload was fine, and the rocket was not damaged. Then it was delayed again from September 26th, 27th, and 28th due to a ground equipment issue with the swing arm retraction system for the Delta IV Heavy. Then it actually managed to scrub twice on September 29th, which is quite a feat, to scrub twice in one day. First, just after midnight, due to weather, and then very late that night, due to a hydraulic leak on the mobile service tower retraction system. Then it aborted on September 30th at T-minus 7 seconds. Then it was delayed from October 15th, quote, to allow our team to perform additional analysis and data monitoring of ground systems to ensure they continue to perform nominally, unquote. And then it was delayed again from October 23rd. So this will be the 14th, unless I missed one in there, the 14th attempt to launch NRO L-44. So hopefully it goes off without a hitch, and we can get some positive tweets from ULA. Then, finally, yet another possible launch on Thursday at an unspecified time. A Chinese Long March 11 will launch GCAM, the Gravitational Wave High Energy Electromagnetic Counterpart All-Sky Monitor. That's a mouthful. Which consists of 2 small satellites to detect the electromagnetic counterparts of gravitational waves and other physical signals. Do not ask me what that means. It is way over my cognitive capacity to enumerate that. These satellites will help in the study of neutron stars and black holes. So, looking at cosmic rays. I call this a possible Thursday launch because the time is unknown and the date was only listed on one of my launch schedule websites. Lately, there seems to be a lot of, I guess, lack of synchronicity between the different launch schedule providers, the different sites out there that provide launch schedules. And so, we'll see. I mean, and plus, as you all know, launches are more, there are more scrubs than launches. There are more delays than there are actual launches. So we'll see which of these schedules actually end up following through. And even regardless of whether or not there's a launch, we should not expect any live coverage because China. Then on Friday, December 11th, another possible launch at an unspecified time, the Russian Angara A5 test flight. It's a new rocket that... Hey! Oh, no, come back. Bring him over here. But don't come on camera unless you want to be on camera.
No, I'm ugly.
Okay, give me the cat. Oh. Look who it is. He's gonna hurt me before I go full screen. There we go. Oh my lord. He was under my upholstered chair the whole time, sleeping under there. I think he likes my voice for whatever reason. But yeah, he just came out and said hi. This is Bennu. He's named after the asteroid that OSIRIS-REx recently collected a sample from. He's a good boy. Born back in May, so he's a young cat. But yeah, he's good. But he likes to eat me. He likes to attack my hand early in the morning, like 5 a.m. and get up in my face. And he doesn't scratch at my face, but he just like places his paw on my face, and I'm like, ah. Anyway. So that was Bennu. And then I was almost done. So yes, Friday, December 11th, Angara A5 test flight, possibly. There won't be any live coverage of that either. Then on Saturday, December 12th at 4 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. GMT, a Rocket Lab Electron rocket called Owl's Night Begins will launch the Strix Alpha Synthetic Aperture Radar, or SAR satellite, for Synspective, a Japanese Earth imaging company. This is the first of a planned constellation of more than 30 small radar sats that will analyze Asian urban centers for development planning, infrastructure monitoring, and disaster response. So I would like to, that is it for this coming week. So I would like to extend a hearty welcome and thank you to new and returning members of the channel. Galaxy P, Rawthling, welcome back. He rejoined, I guess. And AD, new Rawstronaut AD. Thank you to you both. Now, questions. Getting to your questions. Oh my lord. All right, there is a list of questions. Okay, so this is regarding, let me bring this over here to this screen so I'm not looking sideways. Regarding Arecibo, Station 240 says the asteroid tracker used a 2.38 gigahertz transmitter, which was on the platform that collapsed. So I know that some of the transmitters of Arecibo were on these spikes that stuck up from the bottom of the center of the dish, but I guess they had some in the platform as well. Mark Desire, how much time is saved by directly docking the new type of Crew Dragon, or the new type of Dragon capsule to the spacecraft, to the space station, instead of grabbing and berthing it with Canadarm? I'm not sure about time savings. I think, I mean, the only other Dragon 2 dockings we've seen were, of course, with Crew Dragon. And those were, well, at least 2 of 3 of those were crewed. And the very first one was, again, a test flight. So they were testing things out, taking extra time. I guess we'll see with this, tomorrow, with this Dragon 2 cargo module, how quickly they manage to dock. But I know the Soyuz comes in kind of with guns blazing and doesn't waste any time getting to the docking port, whereas with berthing, there's still a slow procession of hold points that any incoming spacecraft has to, hold at like 2 kilometers and 500 meters and whatever. There's multiple hold points when approaching the station that are required. So that is going to hold true regardless of the attachment mechanism, whether it's a berthing with the robotic arm or a docking autonomously. But I guess my recommendation would be let's wait and see tomorrow how quickly it docks. Alan Coker, I read somewhere that it was caused by an earthquake, but didn't see any ground movement. Okay, so yes, I had seen on a seismograph, I think on a Scott Manley video, that there was an earthquake that corresponded exactly with the time that the cables snapped on Arecibo and it collapsed. So I think the final collapse of Arecibo was initiated, but I mean it was on a downhill slope. It was in bad shape because not only because of poor maintenance, but also because the materials were not as robust, did not have the kind of lifespan as they were thought to have when they were designed, when it was first built. Well, first built and then expanded upon over the decades, because it was built back in the early 60s, finished. But yeah, I think the final straw was the earthquake. I don't think it was a violent earthquake that you would have noticed, like the ground shaking. on a camera, but it was enough to push it over the edge. Maria Kutujan asked, when does the cargo dragon arrive at the ISS? That will be tomorrow. Let's see, tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time is when the coverage begins. Rhonda Wileman, I'm sorry, loves how I explain everything so clear. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try. I mean, I'm not... I am pulled in a lot of directions, but I try to gather the information I can for you because I'm learning as much as you are here. So, let's see. Oh, Tig Rayhoff said because I didn't put the Hayabusa2 helicopter tracking up on the live stream, I'm fired. Darn it. Positron, great Space Week. Thank you very much. Very kind. Space Intelligence, great stream. Thank you. Oh, okay. Space Intelligence has a photographer on site at Boca Chica, Carlos Nunez. That's cool. It would be a cool place to visit, but my travel availability is quite limited. What with full-time work. Although the past week, I actually, this is wrapping up a week off. I took last week off, and didn't really get much accomplished. Got some smart switches installed around my house. Check this out. I actually set it up so I can control my stream lights through my Google Home. Hey Google, turn off stream lights. Hey Google, turn on stream lights. How nifty is that, eh? Let's see, Positron. Yesterday I looked for the landing site in Australia, Woomera, and I found this town has a space museum with rockets, planes, and stuff. This can't be random, right? Any history on this? Well, I think Woomera, prohibited area is what they call it. I think that's a government testing area, like for missiles and stuff. So it's quite possible that yeah, the Russian military has a lot of history there. I haven't looked into it myself, but quite possibly that's what it is, like a missile testing range type of place. Positron, always a pleasure to see science community work together like ESA and Roscosmos. I hope the ISS space ban on China will be lifted in the future. Maybe. You know, I mean, on one hand, you know, it's admirable to aspire to keep politics and science separated, but invariably they are never quite fully separated, because a lot of the money for science comes from politicians, so and nations. So, well, we'll take what we can get. Positron, if anything, NASA is growing more and more political and anti-working together. Sadly, I think some of that is sort of a sign of the times. I mean, for the past few years, I mean, you're aware of you know, the outgoing U.S. president. I'm not going to get political here, but I will say that the outgoing U.S. president had a certain way about him, certain preferences as far as international collaboration and cooperation, and not only that, but he nominated the current NASA administrator Jim Bridenstine to his position. So that mindset is going to spill over into NASA's policies and operations, but you know, we'll see moving forward how things change. I think that NASA's narrative might shift a bit come January or shortly thereafter. Station 240, any idea who made the Space Lab logistics pallet as loaded into the shuttle cargo bay? It was made somewhere in Europe, which rules out nanoracks, who weren't founded at that time anyway. The Space Lab logistics pallet. I'm not familiar with the history on that. I'd have to Google it, which you can also do. But good question. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer for you. Atlas Gaming, is the Starship hop still on track for tomorrow? I believe so. As with all the SpaceX test launches from Boca Chica, we don't have definitive information from SpaceX on it. There are rumors, and we follow the TFRs, the temporary flight restriction notices to airmen coming from the FAA, as well as the Cameron County, Texas road closure notifications, but we don't have like a schedule coming from SpaceX. That's part of their development process, so they don't tie themselves down to specific, like if they're launching a satellite, then that has to be scheduled and whatever, but their development process is much more fluid than that. And so it could launch tomorrow. There were even some people saying it might launch today, but that's not the case. The TFR for today was and I'll actually I'll link the link for TFRs in the chat for you, and that way you can actually. So if you go to the FAA's TFR website or webpage, and you filter on the state of Texas, you'll see the TFRs for space operations, which are going to be SpaceX in Boca Chica. And you can actually see for yourself when there are, TFRs active. And so the current TFRs are active for, I think I actually have here. This is what it looks like. The current TFRs are active for tomorrow and the next day, from morning until evening, the hours that I mentioned earlier. But again, that could slip. Again, it's better to launch tomorrow safely than today with a RUD, or a rapid unscheduled disassembly. All right. Jinyi Kwan 666. I think I got that right. Isn't Hayabusa2 relying on NASA's DSN Deep Space Network? It cannot be called a Japanese mission, but joint mission with NASA. Well, the Deep Space Network is, I'm not sure specifically, like, I looked up some information on that. I don't specifically have knowledge of, like, who runs it, because the Deep Space Network is a series of 3 radio satellite installations located at 60 degrees apart from each other on the planet. There's 3 of them, so that at any given time, one or two of them can be in constant communication with probes throughout the solar system, unless they're blocked by the sun or something. But the Deep Space Network is operated by. Let me look that up. It's a good question. In other words, there's one in Spain. There's one in, I think Goldstone is one, if I remember correctly. Deep Space Network. Okay, so NASA is referring to it as NASA's network of antennas. NASA's International Array of Giant Radio Antennas. So the complexes are in Australia, near Canberra, Spain, near Madrid, and Goldstone in the US. Let's see. So, yes, so any solar system mission is going to have to rent time on the Deep Space Network. So, that's from any country. Now, I should rephrase that. Any solar system mission that wants... okay, so for example, China. China does not have a deep space network of their own. They have radio dishes. I mean, they have radio installations that are able to receive signals, but China is of a limited size. It's only, whatever, a few thousand kilometers across. So they're not going to be able to have 24/7 contact with any space probes from China. Same thing with Japan. And Japan's, you know, even much smaller than China. So they're only going to have a limited ability to communicate with craft from their own soil. So if they want to maintain communications with solar system missions, they are going to have to rent time on the Deep Space Network, which is very expensive, and you know, on the order of, I don't know, $40,000 an hour or something like that. I don't know. It's very expensive, and therefore, I suppose technically you could say, I mean, so in that case, the Deep Space Network is providing communications capability to the mission country, you know, whether it's Japan or whomever, just like, you know, Verizon or Sprint provides cellular coverage to your cell phone. That doesn't mean that you're in partnership with, you know, with Sprint and that your conversations are Sprint conversations. They are providing a communication service to you. So I wouldn't say that solar system mission communications traveling, being received through the Deep Space Network means that they are partially NASA missions. Just that NASA is providing communication service to the mission runners. All right. Let's see. So, for any last-minute questions. I wish I could read and speak at the same time. It's ADHD. I'm a task switcher. I can switch to reading. I can switch to speaking. Multitasking is difficult. Okay, so Snow Kitten says he thinks China can't even rent the Deep Space Network due to the exclusion law. Hence, they're using ESA antennas for their missions, if I'd have to guess. It's a reasonable guess. But, of course, yes, right. I guess the mission to the moon qualified as a deep space mission because it was not in Earth orbit. It was in, well, lunar orbit. All right, so it looks like that's it for the questions. Thank you all so much for coming. And, yeah, thank you all so much for coming. This was a big week. Looking forward to another one coming up. Hopefully we get to see SN8 take off. And if I don't see you before Space Week again, I hope to see you in the next stream, which should be the arrival of CRS-21 tomorrow. Until then, keep it raw, and I'll catch you later.
explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. They never think of future. It comes soon enough. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them.